Over the course of the next few lessons, I want to show you how to create new documents and navigate inside your open files and all that good stuff. But before we get to that, I want to show you how you can go about customizing the Photoshop interface. In the previous exercises, you saw how to get around inside the interface. We did that interface tour. Now I want to show you how to kind of make the interface your own. And the more comfortable you get with Photoshop, the easier it's going to be to really customize the interface and really make it your own. So in this exercise, I'll show you how to customize things up, and then I'll also show you workspaces in just a short while as well. And we'll see how we can create our own workspaces and change Photoshop's workspaces and all that good stuff. So to get started, I think what I'll do is I'll start customizing my interface by rearranging some of my palettes. And earlier I said that some of the palettes you'll use all the time, other palettes you'll use, every once in a while, and there's other palettes that you may never use at all. And we talked about closing palettes and things like this. But what I didn't show you is how to go about customizing your palettes. So quite literally, what I can do is I can take any palette tab where it actually reads the palette name there, for example, character or paragraph or swatches, and I can grab that tab, just click on it and drag it straight out into the middle of the screen, literally tear it away from the interface. And now, rather than having a docked palette, I now have a floating palette, and this palette can be moved around on screen just by dragging on this top bar here, this top gray bar. So maybe I want character to appear down in the bottom left corner, for example. And maybe what I'll do is I'll make sure that the paragraph palette also sits within the character palette group. In other words, the two palettes are going to sit together. How would I do that? Well, I'm simply going to take the paragraph palette tab, again, where it reads paragraph there, and I'll grab that and I'll drag them away, I'll tear them away, and then I'll literally drop them inside the character palette. And you see that blue frame, that blue rectangle that shows up. That tells me that I'm about to drop the paragraph palette into the character palette group. And as soon as I let go, that's the result that I get. So quite literally, that's the idea here. We can take any of our palettes here, we can tear them away from the docked group of palettes there on the right-hand side. We can always drop them back into the right-hand side if we want. Again, just wait for that blue frame, or move your mouse around a little bit until you see that blue frame showing up. I could drop swatches down into the layers palette group if I want, something like that. Or maybe what I could do is I could just have the swatches palette floating on its own, maybe in the top left here. Or I could dock the swatches palette, or any palette really, over onto the left-hand side, over with the toolbox if I want. So I could drag this guy over, again, until I see that blue indicator there. In this case, it's a vertical blue line. Let go of my mouse, and now swatches is now docked over onto the left-hand side, something like this. And again, I have that white arrow there, so I can expand and collapse my swatches palette there if I want. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do just a little bit of customization here. I'll drop character and paragraph in there with swatches. So now they're all grouped here on the left-hand side. Again, now I just have this column of icons here. Maybe back over on the right-hand side, I'll take my channels palette, and maybe I'll close out of him, and I'll take styles, and I'll close out of that guy, and maybe take info and drag him down with layers and paths, maybe something like that, right? So again, it's really up to you. You can really set up your interface however you want. And I'm really just kind of giving you the basics here, but as always, you might want to pause things up here and spend a little bit of time customizing the interface. And again, if you're brand new to Photoshop, it might take a little bit of time to kind of get used to which palettes you'll use all the time and which palettes won't really be using a lot. But anyway, that's sort of the idea here, customizing the Photoshop interface.